We started with a simple idea: format translation technology. We ended up with this amazing product. We get to watch how people use it, how it's made their lives easier, and that's really what it's all about.
We believe that data should be free to use wherever, whenever, and however it's needed.
FME is all about giving you the time to make decisions rather than fight with data.
This is our chance to show our users what's next. We are really excited to connect with them and hear all the outstanding things that they've been working on. Welcome to the FME International User Conference 2014.
So, wow, this is
we get to watch how people use it, how it's made their lives
yeah,
easier,
at least
really
welcome to
what
sunny Vancouver.
Yes, as my uncle says, you should have been, what people in Vancouver always say is, oh, you should have been here yesterday.
And you should have been here yesterday.
Yes.
It was beautiful. There was a Disney cruise ship there sailing out over the harbor. A float plane takes off right in front of it over the beautiful sunny mountains. It was spectacular. I don't have a picture, though.
So are we good to go?
Yeah.
There we are. Okay.
There we go. Wow, look at you up there.
There I am on the big screen. So anyway, welcome here. So we saw some of the things rolling by. There are 350 of you, or actually more than that.
Yep.
So thank you all for coming. You are from all over the place. And this is our top mapping technology that we use.
That's right. That's right. We're not sure.
We're
not sure what it is, but
so that took how long to show a map? About 30 seconds.
That's
so
right. It's a great projection too. Look at how big Greenland is.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But you are from all over the world, and there's more than 100 of us here as well to pump up the numbers, I guess,
That's
but also
right.
to answer questions and to be part of this great event.
Yeah. So 70 plus user presentations. And I have to say, going through them all,
yes,
the hardest thing for us was trying to pick which user presentations. We were going to start with fewer tracks, but there were so many great user presentations, we ended up adding more tracks. So they're fantastic presentations.
Yeah, you are in for a treat as you share with each other this week, that's for sure. Yeah. There's 15 hours, probably more actually.
Yeah.
We are in Canada, so it is socialized medicine, so there may be lineups, but you will eventually get served. So do take advantage of that. The doctors are here, and we love making our developers dress up in costumes as well. So make the most of every moment.
And there's our head doctor. Our head doctor's out of the country on a special emergency, isn't he?
That's right, but he will be here
on Friday, I think.
Well, actually, no, Wednesday night.
Wednesday, okay.
We're flying him back in,
excellent,
and we're going to make him wear that outfit as well. So there's 10 training courses. I didn't get the number, but I think roughly 80% of you are hanging around on Friday for probably the biggest FME training festival that's ever been held.
That's right.
And
that's right.
That should be an exciting thing, if only from the logistics point of view, as we do that. But there's a lot of great material, and really glad that so many of you are able to take advantage of that.
Yeah. 8 lightning talk presentations, and those are going to happen this morning under the whirlwind, or is that a different thing?
I think they're different.
They're different.
There's
okay, we're not even going to talk about the whirlwind.
That's right. There's a whirlwind tour going on this morning as well.
That's right.
There are 5 keynotes. When we were planning this conference, and part of this conference is us celebrating 20 years, we thought we should also involve some in our ecosystem that have been part of your lives and our lives for those past 20 years. And so we're going to get to hear from the leaders from some of the leading companies in our space, and that should be very exciting as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
good.
What do we do, Don?
Well, we've been struggling with that for a long time. Are we special ETL? What exactly do we do? So we've come up with this new slogan. You know, we had this brainstorming session, and really what we do is we connect data to wherever you want to do it. So, you know, so you might be web applications, could be data, could be databases, could be files. Who knows where the data is coming from? The first thing we do is allow you to easily connect to that data source, data destination, so you can move it wherever you want. Transformation or manipulation, we called it in the earliest days.
Right. Once you can connect, once you can read the data, now you need to rearrange it. And so that's the key part of where our value comes, is letting you rearrange it. But that sets you up nicely for the last point.
Which is automation. And automation is why we're all here, right? We have manual tasks. Carbon-based units, as we call them at SAFE, don't like manual, repetitive tasks. We like the silicon-based units to do that, so the carbon-based units can go on and create more things for the silicon-based units to do, and do things that actually are creative rather than just, you know, okay, I got to copy those 25 rows from this file over to that file. And so it's really all about automation.
Yes. So why do we do this? And we hinted at it in the opening video scene.
That's right.
Basically, it pains us when we hear people talking about wasting time fighting with data, copying things manually, being unable to work with data that they want to. That breaks our hearts. And so we come to work every day so that that doesn't happen to you. When we started the company, somewhere in these slides we have this. The idea was
that was in 1993 when we started.
Yes, that's probably in these slides too.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like 80%, the story was that 80% of the time for any GIS project was spent gathering the data and only 20% doing whatever you're supposed to be doing. Yep. And our whole role, actually, our whole dream is that you can use our technology to squeeze that 80% down to nothing. Our goal is that you don't have to use this at all, basically.
That's right.
Squeeze us down to nothing so that you can spend the rest of your time actually doing what it is you want to do.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So why are we here? Why did we throw this party, Don?
Well, for the first thing's learning. We want to, we want to learn from you, and we want to share with you the great things we're doing and the things we have planned. We also want you to share with each other the great things that are going on with FME, and of course, at SAFE we also love to have fun. I mean,
that's right.
Data translation is fun, right?
That's right. You just can't have enough of it. And look at how many people would gather to just celebrate data translation. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
You're certainly a special group, is what I would say.
That's right. That's right.
So yes, this is really a week of celebration of a number of things. And so one of them is we're celebrating learning. Yeah. And as Don hinted, the key part of the learning that's going to happen here is between all of you. This is really a gathering of, frankly, the world's experts. The world's expert data jockeys, the data ninjas of the world are here. If this building gets taken out, the data is going to quit moving all around the world. So I hope we have the $6 billion security budget in place for this. Right. But you have an amazing chance, all of you, to interact with each other and learn. 70 of you are going to get up and tell your stories, which is a big chunk of you. The rest of you will be able to ask them questions and interact. That is really the key reason. But secondly,
we have all our staff here, and it's a great opportunity both for you to talk directly to the developers, the support people, the people you've been exchanging email with, but it's also a great opportunity for our team back in Surrey that works really hard to give you new functionality, to also talk with you one-on-one, and just for them also to understand the amazing things that you're doing with their tool. I remember the first time I talked with users after Dale and I, because really we were just building this toy. We were having a great time, the best time at all, working at 3 in the morning. Our wives didn't quite know what we were doing, and they still don't quite know what we're doing. But I remember the first time I met a user and saw what they were doing, I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually kind of scary. They're actually using this to run pieces of their business, and they're depending on it. This is like, not only is this fun, but this is serious fun.
So part of this is that we want to instill the fear of God into our staff so that they understand the gravity of what you do. But kind of joking aside, in the old days, we used to go out and meet with many of you, and some of you actually took training from us live, face-to-face. That allowed us to get that feedback from you directly. In this modern age of doing things virtually, we can reach far more of you. We can certainly broadcast information, but we do miss the opportunity to hear directly from you. And so a big part of the reason why we are down here gathering is so that we can talk with all of you, all of our staff can, to understand the things you do so that we can take that information and make a better product ultimately.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And of course, on Friday, there's this training festival that we talked about.
That's right.
So that should be a lot of fun as well.
Yep. Yep. Well, so, it's also to celebrate the love of data, right? That's what we all do. We all are here. We work with data. We find out. We seek out new data. And then we take that data and we combine it with other types of data to derive new data and support new applications.
Don, to boldly go where no data has gone before.
Exactly. So we love what we do. We love working with data. We love when there's new data types, like LiDAR. We'll talk about maybe one day we'll do video.
Yep.
We'll never say never on a format anymore.
We've learned our lesson.
We've learned our lesson.
And the world has been very accommodating to provide us more formats of data as the years have gone by. I actually thought 10 years ago, I actually made this about 10 years ago when I was going to Sweden to one of the user meetings there, and I really thought that it had flattened out. I was shocked that it hadn't.
That's right. Just sort of like in the U.S. Patent Office at one point, there was a fellow who proposed they shut it down because everything that had been invented had been invented. And no, they didn't shut it down, and there's still new inventions.
Yes.
The world loves formats. I won't even get into how many of those are supported by XML. We should probably talk about that topic.
XML, the cash cow of safe software.
Yeah, I'm almost I'm doing my best to hold it together.
Don's a bit bitter, just so that to set the backstory. We're running this World Cup of data, and Don is very unhappy with. He thinks that the thing has been rigged.
Okay, I'm supposed to move to the other side.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
About the World Cup of data, or?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you're safer on that side because I am right-handed in case I lash out.
Yeah. Yes, so the whole, there's somebody that, can you stand up, please? I don't know how many people are wearing, turn around so the audience can see.
There he is, give him a standing ovation. Woo!
Yes.
There we go.
So, probably about half of those formats are XML,
yeah.
And so we love XML too, and Don made
You'll never guess who made this slide either. It's all about data. You can tell the bottom right one might give you an idea. It's a little larger than the other ones.
Yes, so we'll see what happens there.
So the point is all kinds of data, right? And as we go on, data is coming from more and more places. It's coming from web services.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming from databases, it's coming from all these sensors. We have some sensors over there we're going to talk about. So the data is just coming at us in bigger and bigger streams than ever before. So,
yes.
So the world's good and bright. We had great vision 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've had this fun thing going. If some of you have been aware, the World Cup of Data, saluting our Brazilian friends who are hosting a different kind of World Cup, maybe not quite as popular as this one.
Nope.
But this whole thing was based on the usage stats that those of you that opt in provide to us. And so we looked at the 2013 actually, I think it's 2013 or else it's 20. I don't even know. I'll have to ask.
Okay.
But the recent usage stats to figure out which formats would be interesting to have play off against each other. And then FME server in the cloud is running a tournament, basically, of probabilities. And so, for example, Access upset PostGIS the other day in one of the, I know Paul is unhappy about that, but don't worry, PostGIS prevailed. So there's been this.
It was just one match. It wasn't
that was in the round robin set, and I think PostGIS and Oracle emerged from the database category. Yeah. But I'm told if you go to World Cup, whatever that URL is, it's not up there. Roger, what's the URL? worldcup.safe.com. People here have till tomorrow to enter their picks for the playoffs. And tomorrow afternoon, the playoffs begin, and we'll be having some expert panel discussion. I'm a little worried about Don's, how he's going to handle things, but we'll see.
I might not even show up.
He might not even. So we're going to have some fun with that.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Another thing we're doing, and we're going to just ask you to indulge us slightly, because 20 years is a fairly significant milestone. We had our 20th birthday last December, and so this, in some respects, is our 6-month belated birthday party. So we've got a few little bits to kind of look back. And why are we looking back? I think if you look back, it can kind of inform the future. If you kind of see what was going on 20 years ago, and then you can kind of have a brief idea about what might be coming 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that can help us all as we think about our jobs and what we do, especially in the exciting arena that we're in. So I think I'm going to roll a video here, Don, if I'm lucky, and we'll see a little bit from our video archives what's been happening.
This is the command center. This is where it all happens, the FME. Worked on here daily.
And nightly.
And in the wee hours and every other time. 21-inch monitor, Pentium 133, 64 megabytes of RAM, 486, ugly old printer, 28.8 modem, no cable modems yet, and other monitor. There's a zip drive here, 100 megabytes on a disk. Pretty exciting stuff. Here's the FME manual, version 1.1. You can see how thick it is. It should be humorous when you're viewing this to find out whatever happened to the FME. Whatever happened to the FME.
We're in Whistler.
We're going to have a lot of fun over the next couple of days showing you what we've been up to in Safe Software.
Hard to believe it's 20 years, Don.
Yeah.
No, Dale, take a look. Let's see. Does this look like a man who has his own business in his house and works about 16 hours a day?
Whoops. Thanks, Darius. So, just a few more things about the past, and actually then we're going to take a roller coaster ride through the last 20 years as well. But why did we start, Don?
Well, we started, Dale and I had met, and we had parted ways a little bit, and I had lots of time on my hands. Dale and I, we connected right away. And, we were both excited about data, and I heard about this format that was very much like XML.
Yes.
And it was going to change the world. And it was all about data interoperability. And so Dale and I kept in touch, and there was this proposal that came by, and we were convinced that SAFE, S-A-I-F, was going to change the world. And so we were so smart that we named the company SAFE because we had such great vision. And then when everybody thought of SAFE, they'd think of SAFE. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we saw a problem, and we were just amazed that nobody had actually tackled this problem in a serious way. And it was a fun problem. I mean, we were both computer science guys, and we loved technology. And here was this problem that was not a trivial problem, but one that we thought was super important. We got to work with great people who we're going to meet, see a few of them this morning. And it was just, a great time. And fun has always been, fun is what drives me as a person in many ways. If I enjoy something, and I know we're all the same, right? If we find something fun, we're good at it. We lose track of time, and we just go for it. And then we met all you fun people over time, and
frankly, that's why many of the things in FME are to inject some fun into what would otherwise be a rather tedious, boring thing to deal with. And that's, I think, part of why many of you enjoy FME so much. Yeah, so SAFE back then was what we thought was the key to solving this issue. And in many ways, it was true, because the power of SAFE lives on in FME. SAFE became alive in many ways and went on. And although we laugh about it, it is not far from the truth in many ways that XML and GML have an awful lot to do with SAFE. A couple of the authors even...
well, SAFE really is the grandparent of XML. So
it deserves some respect.
So just think about that. And without SAFE, there would be no FME. And without FME, none of us would be here. And I'd probably be a Slurpee jockey.
So we'll just take a quick roller coaster ride, literally. We started, Don and I met at McDonald Detweiler back, which is a big company, back in 1990. If you wanted to work in high tech in BC, that was probably one of 2 or 3 places you'd work.
Yeah, and I can remember the day I started and I got a tour, and one of the people I met day one was Dale. You remember those days because they're so, when you start a new job, they're so stressful.
And so there we are in younger days.
Yeah, I'm wearing the pink sweater up there. Pink was in, apparently.
And I got the blue tie. Yeah, and actually joining us in the picture is Graham Hebert, who ended up being employee 3 or 4, depending on how you count it, at SAFE.
Yeah.
So that was way back then. Yeah. So in '93 rolls around, and of course this land-breaking product was released that changed the world, or not. Yeah. Some other things, just to put in perspective where we were back there, most of the maps that we were going to deal with in '93 wouldn't fit on a floppy, so you had to use PK-zip to split them.
That's right.
So like a 3 floppy map, wow, that's a serious amount of data. 40,000 features. And so that's what we were up against when the SAFE thing was brewing. The old spatial archive and interchange format. And so we got the company going, and for $50 we bought safe.com.
That's right.
Could have bought anything. Could have bought loans.com, McDonald's.com.
Coca-Cola. We could have bought anything.
No, but we got SAFE.
You can see the vision. We knew this internet thing was big, but we didn't really see the big picture, you could say. Yeah, we were just so excited to get safe.com, and
We could have got like Twitter.com.
I'm glad we didn't get SAIF.com. That would have, yeah, we could have got Twitter.Google.com. That would have really,
Then
that
we'd
would
have
have
had
really
something.
changed the world, I tell
Yeah.
you. Oh, those safe guys that got Google.com.
Could have had it all, but anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So this was our attempt at our first
logo done in Word. You can tell, you might even be able to find the fonts.
But then we went for this one instead.
Yeah.
And that's where we ended up. And these were really our first customers, and one of them is here. We're going to bring him up here in a minute.
Yeah.
But Mark Sondheim, the gentleman in the middle, together with his colleagues Joe and Peter, were the masters of SAIF back then, and they took a gamble on these two jokers from Surrey.
Yeah.
And
the mom and pop shop is somebody.
it was we were called
to us as.
and we worked very, very hard, and there was some nervous hours.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it all worked out for all of us.
We had great business acumen then.
Yeah.
The contract was, they said, well, how do you want to be paid? And we said, just pay us when we're done.
Yeah,
So we were highly motivated to finish.
it was a bit of an unusual payment term.
That's
Fortunately, our wives were working.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And later on, we don't talk about this too much, but early on when we began to transition from doing consulting to having a product, I'm sure for those that know Star Trek, we were breaking some of the Ferengi rules of acquisition. Because if somebody wanted to buy, we would say, do you mind just evaluating for another 60 days? Because if you buy, I have to ship something, got to make an invoice, and then you might pay me, I have to go to the bank.
We have to go to Kinko's.
Yeah. So it'd just be better if you evaluate it.
Yeah, that's right. And then customers actually got upset with us because, okay, I've evaluated 4 times. Just give me the product. Why can't I buy it? Okay, when they started to get upset about that, then we realized we should probably sell it to them. Yeah.
So this was the vision back then. You can't read it too well, but SAIF was meant to be the middle, and all around the outside was these different formats.
Yeah, and it actually set us up very well because SAIF, like the beloved XML, was an object format, so we had to address so many, it was a rich format.
Yes.
So that forced us to build an object model that was actually quite extensible.
As this fine bit of slide work from 1996 says, to accommodate all the possible data models, the format gets complex.
Yeah.
And XML, anyone? That's really where that ended up.
Yeah.
So back in 93, the idea was we'll build this thing called the SAFE Toolkit.
Yeah.
And that was our first contract. And the idea was to build a library that would be open source, Paul.
Yeah.
So we started off building open source things. And basically, we couldn't live off of the consulting from this thing. So we had to do something else.
But we could barely afford a graphics department.
Yeah. That clip art even was hard to afford. But that was what we started off doing.
That's right.
But we were able to at least take some of that money.
Yeah, we bought Dale a nice screen, and I remember I came over because hey, this was a big deal. We bought a big, huge ViewSonic screen,
it cost $3,000.
and it was so nice. I remember Dale said to me, "When we can afford it, we'll buy you one too." And I was like, "Yes."
So I think after this conference, we're going to be taking a collection to see if Don can get his 21-inch monitor.
Well, we did. So obviously, we did at some point.
Yes.
We bought it on the screen.
Here's our first trade show booth. We were pretty proud of that. We spared no expense on the.
We couldn't afford the popsicle sticks to actually hold them up straight, but we had the world by the tail then. So we really thought that this was at UPSLA, wasn't it?
UPSLA, 1994.
We drove down to Oregon thinking that was an object-oriented conference. This is an object-oriented format. We are going to just kill it. And so you can tell we had our badges with our ribbons, that said we have a poster that we made ourselves in case anybody didn't know. And it was great. Fantastic.
We were just overwhelmed by the interest.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It was really, really something.
Yeah, we had to ask people to get out of the way to take that picture.
So it was something. So anyway, we managed to get enough money to have an annual general meeting, and then we got paid because we delivered something.
That's right. Safe
and
delivers.
I think this actually might still be online.
It is.
Yeah. So if you need your SAFE Toolkit technology, you can go and grab it.
Yeah, that's right.
But then what happened was, basically out of laziness, we realized that building translators in and out of SAFE was a lot of work. And Don had designed a framework that all of our translators were based on. So originally we had shape to SAFE, SAFE to shape. We had map info to SAFE, SAFE to map info. There was 8 or 10 of them. And I was the guy that on the weekends would try to build this whole pile of things for our various customers in the forestry business and so on. And I was tired of it. It was a lot of work to compile all these things on my 486. And so I thought, they're almost all the same.
Yeah.
And Don has got them all kind of, wonder if I could just make one executable, and then I'd have some sort of a rule file that when it started up, I could tell it, hey, read from safe and go to map info. Could I get that to go? And over a weekend, I got that to go, but what fell out by Monday morning was I didn't need to make a stop at safe.
That's right, that's right. And so the initial name, we called it the Translation Control Language, and we're both working at 3 in the morning, and Dale calls us and said, yeah, I said, what do you think? And we even had the manual TCL, Translation Control Language. And at that time, SDE was out, and we said, well, TCL is a bit confusing because we use TCL. There's also this TCL. So what do you think about feature manipulation engine? Okay, perfect, click, okay, change the manual, away we go. 20-second conversation.
Yeah, that was the
at about
naming.
3 in the morning, and it was actually a good decision.
Yeah, we didn't pay a lot of money for the name.
No.
But out of that...
And KFC, fortunately, it didn't work for us.
But what happened was that safe got pushed from being the center of the bubble to out on the edge.
Yeah.
And so that changed much of the makeup of our work.
Yep.
And from there, all of a sudden, our product could be used besides in British Columbia and Saskatchewan.
Yep.
From the Saskatchewan was the only other place that actually ever used safe.
Yep.
Suddenly, it could be used for all kinds of different things. And that began the transition from doing consulting to having a product. Yep. And if any of you know us from that time, you had to sit through us talking about thick and thin pipes.
Absolutely.
So
it was
we just
awesome.
thought we'd bring it back one last time, the last time you'll ever see the thick and thin pipe on a safe presentation. So,
yes. Before Workbench, I was an Emacs guy, and Dale was a VI guy. So imagine you come to our booth saying, what the heck do you guys do? Our first question was always, what's your favorite editor? VI, go talk to Dale. Emacs, come to me. And everybody knew Emacs was better.
And man, would we sell product like hotcakes.
Yeah, that's right. And then they would almost go scared to each side, and then we'd pop up a blank page and say, what format do you want to go to? And you go, format. And then you could, we were just delusional. This was so great. And they would stand there, and 20 minutes later, they would click, we would run it, and it would be successful. And they were so grateful because it had worked and the demo was over. But
yes, so that was how we used to sell FME. Yeah. But back already in 1996, you can't see it on the bottom, but this is 1996 thing that we said, we need a graphical, at that time it was called control file editor.
Yep.
Along with things like SDTS and E00 reading, formats that I'm sure you all use daily today.
Yeah, that's right.
So this begins a set of things looking at our website through those years. We already had web mapping going. If any of you remember, that was on our website, and it was a design file, and you'd get a GIF, and you could click, and it would run a translation live. So in many ways, we were doing web mapping in 1996, but we didn't actually bother to figure out what to do with that.
We were just a demo.
Yeah, just a demo. This web mapping thing, who cares about that? People want to run stuff on their desktop. And
that's
so,
right, that's right. Nice safe logo, too. You're going to see the evolution of the safe software logo.
But, compared to the White House, we were doing okay as far as our website goes. And considering we were 2 people and they were like 200 million, I think that we shouldn't be
pretty well.
Too embarrassed.
That's right.
The zip drive we spoke of, 100 meg, wow, that was amazing.
Yep.
And we had 9 formats back then.
And another early FME logo. There was a website, as you can imagine, and we called it the Caveman FME
Caveman logo. The website where you just typed in a couple of letters and it gave you back a logo, and this was what I got.
It was fantastic.
So
and so we ran with it.
And really, it kind of lives on today.
That's right.
So yeah, we bet the company on box a bit early. We literally spent all the money we had to buy about 1,000 of these boxes.
Yeah, we hired a design firm,
Yeah.
and they were expensive. Like, I remember we were unpacking these. We had to load them under. Dale had a crawl space underneath his house.
Yep.
And we spent the whole day basically filling his crawl space with these boxes. And we knew if we never sold FME, at least we could use them for Christmas gifts forever. And yeah.
How many here have a box or had a box like this? Did anybody? Yeah, there's a few of you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Those are collector's items.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
and then we liked the box so much, we used it for our trade show booth. We had spent the whole budget on graphics design, so we make our trade. At least when you see this and you see the box, you'll know where it came from.
So our first conference was the Esri Business Partner Conference in 96 or 7.
Yeah.
We went there 2 years in a row, but we were with these guys called the Engine Room because it was 3 companies that had done stuff with SDE.
Yeah. And so, they all ended in E, so SDE. Soleil was another one.
Zola.
Zola.
That's the Swedish.
So engine was the big keyword that we all had.
Yeah, so we thought, again, we had the world by the tail. Actually, at that conference was when Kurt Carlson from Sweden wandered by, and that was how FME ended up arriving in Sweden. We, of course, delayed Kurt from buying for months and months and months.
That's right. I think he had to come here personally to get it.
But that began our international penetration. So yeah, a couple of logos on the website in '98.
Yep.
We're starting to get a little more cartoony here, but I'm not sure why we had two safe logos.
Yeah, we have the new one and the old one, maybe so people knew that they're actually at the right site.
Maybe,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
So we really, but you know what? We still were doing pretty good, even compared to Google back then. That's what their site looked like at the same time. Actually, let's go back. I think ours is more colorful and more fun.
Yeah, I mean, the FME logo is nicer than the Google logo.
What are those Google losers doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, give me a break. We were at least working with data. They weren't even doing that. They were just doing search.
Yes. So here was our first mobile app.
That's right, yeah. I bought it from Dale for $1.
Yeah.
And I was such a great business guy, I sold it to somebody else for $2. So I made a whole buck.
This car flowed through SAFE. This was the car, my household's only car from most of the early days of SAFE. Yeah. And you know, it's the same color as my Tesla.
It was a Honda-Matic 2-speed or something crazy.
Yeah, Honda-Matic, a lot of power off the line.
Oh boy, yeah, going up a hill, semis would pass you.
For those that know Vancouver, this thing would hardly make it up to SFU. Yeah. It was literally starting on fire, and coming back down, it literally would start on fire because the brakes were. But anyway, so it was a good mobile app for sure. Yeah. And we used to do lots of hard work together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have lots of games still at SAFE. So.
Now this also is significant. In 1998, there was two. We don't have a screenshot of the other one, but there were two projects we did that involved FME as a server. One of them Don worked at in Atlanta.
Yeah, for Bell South. That's right.
That was running FME in a server way, and I worked on another one. At Pan Canadian, or now in Canada, to do basically clip, zip, and ship. And out of that, those two things formed the basis of what we know today as FME Server. We were a little slow to productize it. That was 1998. I think it took roughly 10 years. Yeah, but we'll catch up to it a bit later. But that was significant. We're not sure about the name MapWiz. Yeah. That was not our name. So
yeah, especially as a data. You know, as the data delivery, the whiz part makes it a bit worrisome, but anyway.
So here in 1999, it's interesting because we begin to talk about non-spatial.
That's right.
We're only about 15 years later, and we're still not really fully marketing ourselves into non-spatial. The truth is many of you have figured out that FME is a killer non-spatial ETL tool. And actually, doing that is much easier than doing spatial, and people pay way more money, so we don't want to do that.
That's right, yeah. It's like we didn't add CSV for the longest time. We had all these hard formats.
We should add IFC or CityGML.
Yeah. And the CSV, that wasn't a challenge, right? We wanted challenges, so.
Actually, Robert knows it is a challenge. He's still got some outstanding support cases.
We won't talk about the text file reader writer that you and I did together.
So here was, Don found a picture of where
and this is when Dale and Darius discovered XML. You can just see the,
how excited we were.
Yeah, that's right.
We knew that it was going to be, the cash cow was going to be able to cause us to afford a different car than that old Civic.
Absolutely.
That's why we were happy.
That's right.
So, 2000, we still didn't have Workbench in 2000.
Yep, there's no FME logo on that one slide at all.
Yes.
I don't know why we would not have the logo of our only product we were really selling.
But then Craig Vernon joined our team, and things took a turn for the better.
That's right. And you think he looks happy, we were even happier.
Yes. You know? So we had 63 formats by the year 2000, and we are already up to CDs floating around with a whole 600 megabytes on them. A little bit slow to read and write, but they were certainly letting us do some things. But then Workbench appeared. And this is really quite interesting because we didn't have the idea of transformers yet. The chief doctor at SAFE, Kevin Wiebe, actually realized that if we're going to fit what we're doing into a graphical environment, we needed a different concept. At this era, we were still trying to do functions and factories on the canvas.
And here's the...
the early feedback.
Yeah, here's the early feedback. We built this thing. We're thinking we were really proud of it. We sent it to a user, and this is the feedback.
He says it's an interface done by hackers. It's hard to point out the things to change, but I think you shall totally redesign the whole thing.
Yeah. Sorry to say, you have to make it magic, not maniacal.
And this is unedited. This is actually it is edited. There was more.
It goes on. That was the opening sentence. It got.
So we knew we had to do some more work. And I mean, seriously, this gentleman was a long-time FMEer, and we really valued his feedback, and it caused us to really look hard and go back. And we know it's a complicated thing we're trying to do, and we've basically spent the last, 15 years trying not to have to undo this. And But it was good inspiration for us.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. We knew that not everybody was excited by VI and Emacs and log files. That was the other highlight of the demo was, look at the log file.
Yes. So we roll ahead to 2001,
Yeah.
and there's a couple things. It's kind of a sad day. We were at one of the first, probably the first international.
Yeah, it would have been the reseller event. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was hosted by a gentleman named Axel Axman. And I remember at 4 o'clock in Austria, it was the first time when I was in a meeting, or basically where news arrived via cell phone. It was an old flip phone that Flavio Henry, our Swiss reseller at the time, had, and he had pictures of planes crashing in at 4 o'clock delivered on his cell phone. Yeah. And so that, of course, changed the world in so many unfortunate ways. Yeah. That day, the kind of the damper was on. Yeah. Axel, though, switching gears slightly, Axel was the ultimate host.
Yeah, he was. He was. You know, he really taught us. This is really our first big trip, and he went there and he just really showed us what it was like to be a host. So many of the things that we do here, what we put on for you, is our lessons really learned from Axel.
Right.
And Axel was a special guy for other reasons. He initially had his own product.
Yes.
That was very much like FME. And he said, when I tried FME, he said, and he was writing the code, I just put it aside and I called you guys because I realized the way you guys were doing it and the technology you had were better. So I wanted to be part of that, you know, rather than try to compete. He really understood the problem.
Right, he had worked on that for 10 years. So he set aside his 10 years of work and began. Anyway, Axel passed away when? 6 years ago?
5, 6 years ago.
And so we do miss him, but all of you are affected by him because he is part of us and has affected how we want to host events and the kind of people we want to be. So a little shout out to Axel.
Yeah, yeah.
So 2002, we finally get our safe logo. Yeah. This is supposed to be an animated GIF.
Mark grinds up and comes out the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. But thankfully, Mark probably changed this so it doesn't animate anymore.
That's right. That's right.
So finally, Workbench makes it onto our website in 2003, and we're up to DVDs. Yeah. So we're pretty excited about that, and we have almost 100.
Almost 100 formats. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah, that was the 10th anniversary, and we had a nice poster. Yeah. Google Earth was announced then. And there we are.
Yes. Yeah. At that time.
Yeah. That's a buddy of mine. I made a joke about my hair, or forehead, and he says, "What are you talking about? You don't have a forehead. You have a 5 head."
Yes. So we made a post. We love making posters.
Yeah. And there's some of these still at the back. So.
And you can collect your 10-year poster.
If you missed it 10 years ago, you have another chance.
There are some Easter eggs in that poster. If you search really hard, I remember if you want to make a bunch of Swedish mapping geeks kind of max out their personal CPUs, just tell them there's in the contour map back there, there's some Easter eggs, and they're all in the break. And so we'll see if it happens here.
Yep.
So we're up to flash drives by then. Yep. And we get to 154 formats. Yeah. So spatial direct.
Yeah, spatial direct delivery data, and I just love this guy sitting back with that smile. What can FME do for you? We're not actually going to tell you what FME can do for you, but we're going to ask the question.
Yes, and so this is basically what we call FME Server 0.5 by then. Yeah. 2006 was our first user conference. Yeah. It was a great time. This one here, we were a little bit ahead of our time. It's kind of like Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
Unleash the power of your FME style. Okay,
FME style, whatever. What does that mean?
But this is what it means, actually.
That's right. I mean, look at me. Clearly, I was on an XML high. Me and my dog there at the time. So he loved XML too.
Yes. But a lot of people think that 2007, the significant thing was the release of the iPhone. Yeah. But in fact, it really was that FME did raster then. And Robert waited about 5 years for us to do it, and I still remember, and I'll tell the story one last time, Robert, how we finally get it done after Robert's been asking. And I said, Robert, I know you wanted this like 2 or 3 years ago, but I can tell you that it's in the latest beta. We can finally do the thing you wanted to do. And Robert writes me back at 10 at night and says, I'm downloading it right now. He was waiting all that time to, I guess it was to tile and reproject his ECW, I think, or Mr. Sid. And so we did it, finally. So we started to get a little bit fun.
Yeah. We probably almost drove over the cliff on this one, having a business product where the splash screen is a lizard standing beside a stack of bananas. But that's with GB, and it was inspired by the movie Herbie Goes Bananas.
Yes.
And anybody seen that knows it's a classic.
It's a classic movie. Not a lot knew that this was inspired by Herbie Goes Bananas. But,
no, that's right.
Now you all do. Yeah. This was a splash screen that never quite made it. And I'm kind of grateful for that. So by 2008, we said we were the spatial ETL experts.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Server was released in 2008. So that was, so spatial direct era was coming to a close, and we decided let's take this to where it really can be, and Server came out.
so only 10 years after we had the technology.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's right.
we didn't rush it to market.
No, no.
So finally in 2009, we started doing some BIM and 3D things.
Yep.
And we're up to Blu-ray discs, which at the time I thought was going to be significant. In the end, for us in our industry, Blu-ray is largely irrelevant.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I can remember when Steve Jobs says, "No, we're not going to do Blu-ray. Blu-ray is just more pain than it's worth."
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, "Wow, that guy, I thought he had vision."
Yeah. Yeah.
And sure enough, he had vision.
Yeah. So by 2010, we were over 250 formats.
Yep.
And that brings us basically to now. The
Yeah.
next big milestone is that FME Server can live in the cloud.
That's right. And so we're going to talk a lot about that.
And
now, now unlimited storage, as much as you want. It all lives in the cloud. All of our stuff at safes in the cloud. All our files, our email, Salesforce.
So you know, throughout this history, we kind of wove in what was going on with storage. We've kind of hit a point now where none of us really carry the data around or have to anymore.
Yeah.
The data volumes are so large that we're tending to just put them in the cloud. Or, like, actually, we were going to be doing a demo with the U.S. Park Service, and in the end, it didn't come to pass for Thursday because we couldn't get the data from them in time because it was so huge.
Yep.
And so we didn't have time to courier the hard drive around.
Yep.
So we're in a new era where there's
I remember
basically...
just tell a story
Yeah.
here. I remember the first time we had a LiDAR discussion. We were
Yes.
talking with a customer, and the customer said, "Oh, before you can read data, you kind of need to get some." So we said, "Do you have LiDAR?" He says, "Oh, yeah, I got lots of LiDAR data." I said, "Great, could you send it to us?" "Oh, yeah, right, no problem." Click. So we're expecting an attachment on email, and a day and a half later, a special shipment comes, and it's a terabyte drive. I wonder what's on a terabyte drive. Oh, LiDAR. Wow, this is a lot of data.
Yes, yeah. So the world we're living in is one that's basically filled with data.
Yeah,
and now we're at 330.
330, yeah.
And so that, I think, brings us through our whirlwind tour of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So, so we got a poster.
Yeah, we have another new poster. There's a picture of it here. And Connect, Transform, Automate. Resistance is futile. And then around the outside is like a tour through the 20 years of FME and SAFE. And they're bigger than the 10-year poster.
They are. Well, there's more to put on.
That's right.
The funny thing is the graphic artist that did this was not aware of the Borg. And so he sends us this draft, the concept with this cube with formats on it. And we go, "Oh, it's the Borg." He goes, "What's that?" He doesn't know. So how could he not know? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Where was he in 1993?
I know.
So
Yeah.
another thing we want to do is celebrate people. In this conference, we have a few that we want to highlight, and we want to start by celebrating customer number 0, Mark Sondheim. Mark, are you here somewhere?
He is here somewhere.
Come on up, Mark.
Come on up, Mark.
So in Whistler in 2006, we gave a plaque to Mark as customer number 0. This time we have something far more valuable. It is the complete collection of all the sporks we've ever made.
Yeah.
So you're the only one to have that, Mark. And so congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll cherish it.
Let's get on each
Thanks,
side.
Mark.
Let's get on each side. Take the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
So thank you so much, Mark, for the role you've played. All of us in this room owe a debt to Mark. And be sure to talk to him throughout this conference. The second person we wanted to recognize was Peter Laulund.
Yeah, and I remember I went to Denmark in 1998, 99, and it's a funny story in Denmark. Anyway, I taught Peter there, but I remember the first morning, trained the first time, not the English language. I got lost, but I ended up being there. I didn't understand where I was supposed to go, got picked up. Next morning, I'm in having breakfast, and I go to the juice machine, and it looked like it had a picture of an apple, so okay, I'm good here. So I press the thing, and it comes out like this thick syrup. So I go, okay, so I get a glass, and I have it, and I say, yeah, it's apple. Okay, I put it down. Some lady in the restaurant comes. She says something to me in Danish, and I did a nice smile, wave, yeah. So then I'm drinking this stuff, and I'm thinking, wow, it must be, and then I'm trying to think, why is this apple juice so thick? It must be, well, it's cold here. Maybe they need the energy. Well, I mean, I'm from Canada. It's cold in Canada, too. So it turns out the machine was broken, and there was no water being mixed with the syrup. But I'm busy drinking it, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I remember Peter in the class, and that was before Workbench, so it was a mapping file thing, and it was a great day. It was a large class, and Peter took what he learned in the class, and as Dale said, he's just been amazing, pushing, always pushing the boundaries of what can be done with FME, giving us inspiration. We would talk with him and find out, what are some of the weaknesses, what are some of the things, how are you approaching it, and then try to make it into into Workbench so that it was more accessible for people. So
yeah, Peter has been a real innovator, and again, all of you owe a debt. You don't know it, but you owe a debt to this man because he has been also a source of so many of the innovations that you use daily. Yeah. And so, and we didn't actually mention you are with the National Mapping Agency of Denmark, to use an anglicized version.
And I remember we used to have this FME FME Idle contest. And we were really pushing Workbench as a way to go. And out comes Peter. No, I'm not going to use Workbench. Yeah, and he has his little disc and all his tools. And I remember sitting there thinking, jeepers, I hope he doesn't win. And because we're promoting this Workbench thing, and here's this genius guy with mapping files and all his tools, and fortunately he was used to a Danish keyboard, so he was using an English keyboard, so that really slowed him down. And I think he was like within a minute or two of actually winning. Birch. So anyway, it was great.
So Peter, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks. So you'll be hearing more from Peter throughout the conference. So yes, lastly, we want to recognize our longtime partner. And Christian, do you recognize that picture? It's from a long time ago. Conterra's been working with us in Germany and has, the people in Vancouver don't know what this is. In sports, we call it a dynasty when the same team wins many times in a row. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. I know what that is. But Conterra has really had a dynasty in terms of being our top partner year after year. And so we wanted to recognize you and your team. If some of you want to come up here right now, or Christian, yeah? Thank you. So there you go. Okay, thank you so much for the work you do. Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we also want to celebrate our team at SAFE. So many of them have worked incredibly hard. Normally at SAFE, we don't like to ask people to work extra hours, but in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of breaking of that rule. And so I think lots of them are going to have a little bit of time off next week. But we want to celebrate them as well for all that they do for us as the owners, but also for all of you. And so to celebrate them, we have a Yes.
Yeah, so really, you know, as Dale and I have, we talk often, obviously, and the topic of our team comes up a lot. And we are very, very lucky, you know, as we've gone on the 20 years. The technology is great. The technology continues to evolve. But it's really the people that really make SAFE what it is, and this whole FME experience. And the team at SAFE, I mean, I just love coming to work. I tell them often, and I was misunderstood. I was walking down the hall and said, I haven't worked a day in 20 years. I'm actually retired. And somebody overheard me, and he thought maybe I was never going to come to the office anymore. But really, I come to work every day, and it's just fun. I get to work with these incredibly smart people who inspire me and just make me try to live up to their expectations, because they're certainly exceeding mine. And so it's just fantastic to work with that team, and I just want to say thank you. You're wonderful, and I couldn't imagine a better team anywhere. And it goes, you know, we've made many friends, of course, you know, worldwide as we travel. You know, I'm not the easiest person to get to know. I'm kind of a bit of an introvert. As a tech guy, I'm sure that's a huge shock. But you know, it's just been great getting to know so many of you, and that's really, you know, what this week's about. It's just celebrating the team, celebrating you, and just having a great time.
And so we've hauled that whole team. Part of why we rolled that video is that you'd get a chance to kind of start to know some of them. We've hauled all of them down here. Yep. Their job this week is to get to know all of you. So take advantage of that, mix with each other, and get to know each other.
Yep.
So just a few last things about kind of where we are now.
Yep.
Well, we're in this world on the desktop.
More and more data types.
More and more data types.
Yep.
Coming.
And more will be added for sure.
Yep. On the server continues to grow. We're going to have lots of talks and time spent talking about how people are using server to do things.
Yep. And the cloud. I mean, the cloud is server. It's just another way to do server. But with more and more things, with more and more web services, with the Internet of Things, more and more data living there, having a self-hosted service just makes so much sense. And whether you're ready for it now or not, you know, it's nice to know that when you are, it is there.
And the other thing this diagram hints at is that the cloud is also a source of formats, in quotes, or at least systems. We're now using the term formats and systems. And so data is living out there in a variety of ways. And so our graph, if anything, is going to pick up the pace as we connect to this exploding set of data services.
Yeah, so really, you know, 20 years ago, we wanted to build this company. We had this idea to help people with data, and the problems are exactly the same. The differences are now there's more data than ever coming from more and more spaces. And but the challenge is still the same. It's still fun, and
yes,
FME's got to,
because the world is drowning in it. As Don says in 1 minute, this is an infographic from somewhere. The staggering, can't read all that, but bottom line is enormous amount of stuff happens every minute. This was a recent thing that Pitney Bowes put out that said that the biggest, from this poll that they did, look at the most common thing is that 38% of the respondents said they have too much data and it's difficult to manage. Or the other 25% on the top left say they have it integrated, but the quality is poor. I'm thinking that the 22% on the right-hand side are the ones that must have FME. But this just...
So still 80% of the people, just like 20 years ago, are still fighting with data.
In one way or another.
Yeah. And everything's connected, as we're going to talk about this week, social media, devices, everything.
And all cranking data. So wherever that data comes from, you, with their products, can consume it.
Wherever you want to put it, wherever it needs to go. With FME, again, you can connect there and deliver it.
And you don't have to do it manually. You can automate that so that it can happen hands-free. Because actually, we had a customer the other day call us because he hit a limit that we didn't know was in there. His FME server had 500 scheduled tasks. So he'd automated 500 things to happen. That's a lot every minute, basically.
That's a lot of things. That's a lot of things.
And so he's got a lot of automation. So lastly, we're just going to transition now to a bit of another kind of celebration. Those of you that looked ahead at the program know that we invited 5 keynote speakers from key technology partners that have worked with SAFE. We didn't say this during our whole presentation, but another key thing that we've done over the last 20 years is try very hard to have good relationships with the major players in the industry. And that is because we need all of that data that you need to work with moving in and out of all those systems very smoothly. And so we invited those key partners that we've had over these years to come and speak with us, to share their vision of what's going on right now, some hints at where it might be heading, so that you might all understand better the world you're going to be living in, the world of data that you're going to have to deal with.
And there they are.
So there they are. We're going to have two this morning. Ismail and Paul are going to talk with us shortly. And then tomorrow it's Brad and Rob. And then on Friday it's Adam. So that's, let's just go. Esri, open source, Autodesk, Hexagon/Intergraph/Erdos/Leica. Did I miss any? And then Google. So we got a variety there. I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting. And so,
with that, well, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to this and indulging us as we went through our 20 years, and we're ready for our first keynote.
Yes.